Alright, so today is day 21 of hashtag Vita. I don't really have anything in the way of vlogs today, I'm really sorry, but all I did today was I fed my fish. Actually, I haven't fed them for the night, so just give me a moment. Oh, and guys. Yeah. Okay, so I went to sleep at 7 AM. I woke up at 6 PM. I slept a lot more than I've actually been sleeping lately. So, yeah, that's probably why I'm in a better mood today. Okay, so today's video I wanted to talk about cultural appropriation and being easily offended. Cultural appropriation I'm basically only going to touch on because, well, I'd prefer to save that for a video when I can just discuss like actual topics of cultural appropriation. But as far as being easily offended, I actually highly despise how easily offended people seem to be these days, and so I actually wanted to talk about that. It's mostly come up, and I was mostly inspired by this from watching new YouTubers that I haven't seen really before. I started watching Onision, I started watching Social Repose, which by the way, I found him through Onision and found out he has music, and if you like good music, or you like the music I like, you should totally go listen to Socially Repose's music. It's really good. No, like, it's honestly really good. If you're thinking of leaving, please go. That's one of my favorite songs, and that sounded way bad out of context had I not actually said that was a song. But so, being easily offended has become a very popular thing, where basically if you see something that is even slightly immoral, which basically everybody is immoral to a degree, everybody says things that are offensive, we all make jokes that, you know, you probably shouldn't have made, we all say things, you know, that in hindsight probably wasn't the right thing to say or the nicest thing to say. That's human nature. We say things out of spite, we say things out of emotion, we say things when we're mad, when we're happy, when we're sad. It's how we are, you know? So why would you easily be offended when somebody says something that you wouldn't be offended if somebody else said it, but because it's this person or this group or this religion that's saying it, you suddenly take it to heart more than when you would when your friend said it, or if your family, or if your group or religion said it. Why is that? So the reason I'm specifically finding being offended as a common thing lately is because in Onision's video, a lot of people find him very offensive. Which, yes, in a way he definitely is. I can see why a guy can become very blunt and very offensive, but I mean, when you get tired of hearing how people are being offended by this and by that, by a flag that, you know, has historical value, by a word that is used prominently in music, and then suddenly when one group says it, it's offensive more so than if another group says it, because, you know, we all have to earn our individual right to, you know, be equally as offensive or offended. And cultural appropriation kind of comes into it when I talk about Social Repose, because he wears a headdress, which a lot of people, you know, they find it weird when people do things with their hair, when they do things with their face, when they get piercings, when they get tattoos. I think that kind of stuff is freaking cool as hell. I've never once looked at somebody and been like, ew, creepy, stay away from me. No, I'm usually like, whoa, those tattoos. Where can I get me some of those? Oh my gosh, I love how blue your hair is. I mean, I would have gone with like blue with a little bit of green mixed in, but I mean, you pull it off, it looks amazing. So, I'm not as like freaked out by his persona, his getup that he has on. It's kind of goth, you know, it's got like, he has like the long black hair, kind of like emo style. Emo, I don't know, I'm not part of the group, so maybe I shouldn't say that, I might be offending somebody. Ugh. Once again, that's not offensive. So he also has, you know, like the spikes, the tattoo, the sleeve tattoo, which that's not really part of any group anymore. A lot of people do those, especially in the military. He has the makeup, the symbols, and he also has this headdress, which apparently he has been approached by a bunch of Native American people before who find it offensive. Which, you know, in a way, they have every right to be offended. But if you actually listen to what he has to say about it, you would understand that he actually has a right to do that because it's not the same as what they wear. It's kind of like me having a hat, like a ball cap kind of hat, and you having like the flat bill hat, and then me saying I'm offended by you wearing that hat because only my culture is allowed to wear a hat. But we have two different kind of hats. So why are you offended by my hat if my hat is a different style than your hat? It's a different color, it's a different bill. Mine has a snap in the back, it's a snapback, I guess. It has a snap in the back to size, whereas yours doesn't. Yours is a one size fits all, or it's pre-sized. Could you really be offended just because they're both hats? No. So he has a headdress, but it has absolutely none of the normal characteristics of a normal headdress. Now again, this video is not actually about either of these YouTubers, so please do not tag me as far as that goes, because I'm not trying to feed off of their fame. I am not even going to tag them in this. This is specifically about being offended, easily offended specifically, and cultural appropriation. And socially reposed is like the most prominent on my mind right now as a form of cultural appropriation, because a headdress is known to be a Native American thing. However, for him, it is slightly different. It has different colors, it is made out of different materials, it is a different design, it has different designs on it, not just being a different design in itself, but things like that. When they're different enough that they're not the same, that voids the argument of cultural appropriation. But even if it didn't, why should only one group be allowed to have something? I mean, honestly, it's not like they are the only group to have ever done it. If cultural appropriation was taken to a much further extent and started to be applied to other things, like, I don't know, technically religion is not a culture. However, religion in certain groups can basically become, I don't know how to explain it, but if you have a society that is entirely one religion, like I'm building up to something here, right? If they, like Christians, if you could consider them a culture and they don't want gay marriage, then cultural appropriation could be applied to this by saying, well, marriage is a Christian thing, so if you're not a Christian, you shouldn't be able to have a marriage. But in modern age, they're only applying this to, for example, gays. Like, we don't think gays should be able to marry, you know, because marriage is our thing. It's the sanctity of marriage between a man and a woman. Cultural appropriation, granted this is not exactly a culture, it is a religion, but it's the same concept that, hey, you know, that's our thing, you're not allowed to do that. It's the exact same thing as having a culture saying, no, like, Chinese is my culture, so you can't have a Chinese New Year because you're not, you know, you weren't born, you weren't raised in China, you don't have Chinese parents, you don't have Chinese lineage, you know. And no, I've never been told that by anybody. In fact, most cultures are very forward and like, oh my gosh, no, like, you find that interesting? Like, this is my culture. Like, I'm really amazed that actually somebody outside of my culture finds this interesting. That's another thing that I love about learning languages, is I've met people outside of my culture that have these things that they find interesting, and they're so surprised when somebody outside of their culture or their language is like, yeah, I like that too, you know? And you start talking in their language, or you start talking to them about something that they find personally interesting and is very dear to them as a person because they grew up with it. Usually they're very fond of that. But in modern day, it seems like people are like, whoa, hold it there, you're your culture, you don't know, stop it, you're offending me. No. So I personally don't believe in cultural appropriation. Culture was meant to be shared. Cultures mix and they mingle and they form new cultures, just like languages mix and mingle and become new languages. That's why we have dialects, because there's no such thing as black and white. And when I say that, I'm not referring to race, though there really isn't. I mean, black and white, we're all the same. Genetics, everything about us as humans between black and white is the same. Pigments don't really equivocate too much of a difference, so you can't really consider it. But that aside, it's not black and white. When it comes to culture, the lines blur. That's why we have so many neighboring cultures that are very, very, very similar, but they have differing things that keep them apart. That's why we have religions that are very, very, very similar, but then they have those dividing lines where it's like, In my religion, Jesus is a prophet, he is a teacher. In my religion, he was just a very good person and a very, very good advocator of the religion and of God, but no more. That's why we have sects, like different sects in religion and different religions and different communities that all support somewhat the same thing, but not entirely the same thing. So why should we be able to culturally appropriate if we can't religiously appropriate? I'm trying to think of some others that would be just outright outlandish. But the point is still there. Why? What's the point behind cultural appropriation? What's the point behind being offended other than playing the victim? There are very few times, from what I've noticed, where people actually have a real good reason to be offended. So before you get offended next time, actually ask somebody why they're doing or saying what they're doing, and ask them where they're coming from. Ask them if they have any real reason behind it. Because maybe, just maybe, you're wrong and being offended is the wrong course of action. Or maybe they're doing something that's not quite offensive, but close enough that they should rethink their actions and, you know, take a step back and like, you're right. Maybe I was wrong. So don't let yourself fall into the new media fad of being offended by everything that happens around you. But yeah, so this was not supposed to be a vlog, other than I'm going to call it #VitaDay21. It is not actually a vlog. This is more of a separate video and a rant. Only I'm not much of a ranter because I don't really get angry. I mean, I do sometimes, but not overly angry. So I hope you liked this video. I'm going to be doing other videos that are going to talk more in depth about these, but I wanted to save those for later when I can edit. Like I said, I will be starting to edit, and I can add in more to actually make it make sense and get the point across better. So if you actually do like this, please hit the like button so I know that you actually enjoy these and that I should keep trying to get better. My next video, I'm trying to do a video about, I have 2 ideas. I know I don't need to tell y'all, but I like to do disclaimers so that people know what I'm doing and whether it's going in the direction they want me to, or whether it's like, I might need to go to another YouTuber. I want to do a video that somebody came up with and asked me to do, where I talk about what inspired me to get into YouTube and live streaming, and what inspired me basically just to be the person who I am today, and what made me grow up to be who I am today. And I have a lot of different influences that I could talk about, and it's a lot deeper than just, they wanted me to talk about 3 people, but to be honest with you, 3 people, I can't do a video about 3 people who have inspired me, because I've been inspired by so much more, and it's such a much larger concept than just 3 people to me. So that will be coming up, and I've got another idea, but that one I'll save. I can't give all my cards away. But yeah, so bye!